Welcome everyone, David with Day Trade Like a Pro. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us for this webinar. This is somewhat of a follow-up to the course that Ephraim did a few weeks ago, but it's a topic that we talk about with traders on a regular basis, and we have a very unique way in how we track stats and journal within Day Trade Like a Pro, and we want to teach that to you guys today. With me, I have Ephraim, who's the founder, CEO of Day Trade Like a Pro, and Jaime, who, if many of you who are in our Discord room will know him as Omega Knight. He's one of our lead coaches here at Day Trade Like a Pro with a specialty on trading NQ. For those of you that are new to us, thank you for joining us. We're committed that you really get something of value today, and we're going to walk you through a process exactly how to track your trades, track your journal to become consistently profitable. We're really excited about today and looking forward to everyone joining. So with that, I'll pass it over to Ephraim.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Ephraim. As David said, I'm the founder of Day Trade Like a Pro. I know a lot of you who are here on the webinar. I probably know a lot of you who will listen to the recording later on. But for those of you that I don't know, and if you're new to Day Trade Like a Pro, or maybe this is the first time that you've been on one of the live webinars that we've done, just want to welcome you and reiterate what David said. Thank you for being here. We know that there's a lot of information out there in the trading world. Also with that, we know that a lot of that information isn't good. And our commitment has really been to helping traders grow and develop. Really, for me, it started as this simple thing of just, I wanted to provide traders with what I wish had existed when I started. That's been an ongoing effort. And so what we're going to show you today is really a very nice follow-up to the course that I taught, which was basically about how to map the market. It's what I do every day in MAP, and what our subscribers of MAP get. And we pulled back the curtain really for the first time, and I really showed everything that I know about how to map out the market. So if you've done that course, this course is going to be a phenomenal follow-up to that. And if you haven't done that course, I'd strongly suggest that you do take that course and also take this course. If you haven't done that course, you could shoot us an email, support@daytradelikeapro.com. Maybe we'll work something out for you if you want to do both courses. But I know some of you already know that you want to do the course. So let's just jump into it here. That's me. If you have watched any of our videos or anything, you probably know about me already. So the intention here today is that you leave this webinar that we're doing here together with a commitment to journaling your trades, and you begin doing so immediately. That's really what I hope that you take away from our time here together. Whether you're already doing that, or maybe you've been kind of half in, half out, or maybe you know you should be doing it and you're not doing it, really want you to create a commitment here today that you're going to begin journaling your trades and start doing it immediately. Second is that you register for the course, and we can help you develop your trading. I have this here because I don't want this to be a surprise to you. If you were at a webinar you wanted to learn how to become a neurosurgeon, which is probably easier than becoming a successful day trader, and you attended a webinar for an hour, and then you thought, great, well, I'm ready to go do brain surgery. It's just not likely. So I know that the best way that we can help you is if you are in the course and we can work side by side with you. And that's why Jaime and I are doing this together, because we wanted to be able to provide that kind of help. And also Jaime's going to talk a little bit about the process that he went through with this that led him to where he is now as a consistently profitable trader. So don't be surprised at the end when there's an opportunity to register. Of course, you're free to register or not. I would encourage you to register. It's really going to be the way that you'll get the most value out of your time here today. Let's talk about what journaling won't do for you. It's not going to give you the secret to trading success, the holy grail. I talk to so many traders and they say, I don't believe in the Holy Grail. I know you don't, but you do. Deep down inside somewhere, you think there's that thing that will make it so that you never lose another trade, or somewhere inside of most traders, if they haven't turned that corner of being consistently profitable, they think there just must be something that they're missing that would give them that, like it would unlock all the secrets. And it just doesn't exist. Winning is a part of losing, losing's a part of winning. They go hand in hand. The other thing journaling won't do for you, it won't instantly make you profitable without putting in the required work. And I think we're going to talk about why traders fail at journaling and why most of it doesn't work. But a lot of it is just actually putting in the required work. The problem is for people who are even putting in the required work, they're doing it wrong. And so we're going to talk about that today. And it can't make you follow your rules. For some of you, that's bad news, because you can have a great system with a great edge, and if you can't follow your rules, it's really not great. But what it can do for you is it can help you clearly define an edge in trading so that you can know when you're putting on a trade, if there's actually an edge there. If you go to Las Vegas and you see casinos there, they're not there checking people at the door and saying, well, yeah, you can come in and gamble here and you can't, because they know that all of the games in the casino have an edge for them. They know what their edge is in each one of those games. And why do you think that when they have slot machines, do you think they'd rather have 2 slot machines or 1,000 slot machines? If you have an edge, they want more people, more money. They know that every dollar that comes through there, they know what they're going to make for every $1,000 that comes through. So imagine if you could run your trading business like that, where you knew what your edge was, and you knew that if you put on a certain number of this trade, over 100 trades or 1,000 trades, this is going to be the result of that. And it really takes the urgency or the pressure of getting this trade right. It really takes that off. And you know what you're looking for, because if you have a defined edge, you know where you want to be trading and where you don't want to be trading. That last part, where you don't want to be trading, is probably as important as where you do want to be trading. Here's the other thing, that if your journaling is done right, which is what we'll be showing you in the course, is that it'll tell you exactly where your stop loss and target should be based on actual data. How most traders do that is they look at their account, and then they look at how much size they're trading, and then they decide how much they could risk out of that account per trade that they would be comfortable with. And that's about as far as it ever gets. It's really no wonder that traders end up losing. And also, as far as targets, most of what I see put out, traders who are here at Day Trade Like a Pro and have been here for a while and have real targets, that's one thing. But most of what traders call targets are things that they just pulled out of nowhere. You may as well just close your eyes and pick somewhere on the chart, and it probably has the same probability of happening. If you did the course that I just finished up teaching a month or so ago, we have really reliable targets. Now we know, based on the way we're journaling, when those targets are getting achieved. How long does it take for them to get achieved? How big are those targets typically? Does that change from day to day? Does it change at certain times of the day? They're just different things that we're tracking. And then your stop loss is based on, get this, actual trading data, not how much you think you could risk out of your account. The one thing that's interesting about the course here is that it's a lot more fun to show you something that's all flashy and looks really cool and, that's like got all the secret sauce, except none of that stuff works. All the stuff that's really flashy and looks really cool and has all the secret sauce, it's not that. When you peel back the curtain and you look, it's just hollow inside. It's all just for marketing and for show and for sales. And one of the interesting things and one of the challenges that we've had at Day Trade Like a Pro is that we're giving you what we're going to show you here and what the course is about, I believe will make the difference in a person's trading. I have real evidence to support what I'm saying is true. It isn't sexy for the most part. It's not like you go, wow, that just sounds unbelievable, or it just sounds so good that I just can't wait to do it. it sounds like that kind of sounds boring and kind of arduous, and I don't know that I really want to do it. When you really understand it, which I hope that you will by the end of the time together today, I think that you'll see that there's a tremendous value in doing this and doing it the right way, which, as far as I know, no one out there is teaching. What journaling can do for you, prove you have an edge over a long period of time versus, if you might be going through a period of drawdown. Are you going through a period of drawdown and you still have an edge, or do you just not have an edge, or has the edge gone away, or all these things that can get answered with the right information. And if you don't have an edge, or that edge is deteriorating, you can develop an edge with the right information and knowing how to use that information. It can also help create consistency by showing you that following your rules will produce the results you're after. If you could see day in and day out hard evidence that if you just followed your rules, and by the way, one of the things that this could lead to for some of you, you might actually be able to lead this into automating this way that you trade. For some of you, maybe don't even want to trade. Maybe you just want to automate the way that you trade. This can lead to developing that process, and eventually, who knows, you could have dozens of strategies that you've taken through this process and you've automated all of those and they're out trading for you, and you just keep doing this process. So there's so many different facets to. Let's talk about what's required. You need an absolute commitment to the process, to entering your trade data, and then to reviewing it. Now, some of you have that, and some of you have been really consistent. I know there's traders who have been with us who are absolutely religious about entering their trades and tracking their data. The problem is they're not tracking the most important things. And we'll talk about that. You can have this commitment, but then if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're doing it the wrong way, there's a saying that practice makes perfect, but it's really perfect practice. And so if you're doing it wrong, you have a leg up on the people who aren't doing it at all, but you're way behind the people who are doing it the right way. And then you have to have a commitment to follow your rules. And if you won't develop this and you won't actually create this and deal with whatever it is about you that has you not follow your rules, then you're wasting your time. Because you can develop a set of rules, which is what you will have. And then if you won't follow those, or you won't commit to doing what it takes to getting yourself to where you can follow those, you're really just wasting your time. That's what it is required. And I probably should have something in there about actually knowing the proper things to be tracking and what to be looking at. But we'll talk about that. Most journaling is a waste of time. That's probably not a surprise to hear me say that at this point. There are dozens and dozens of trade journals that I know of that are on the market, and none of them track the right information. And then one of the problems with journaling is most traders don't see immediate results because it doesn't work that way. And so they quit. They think, this isn't working, and they quit. Kind of like if you went to the gym for a week and then you're like, I don't think I'm getting any stronger. And then you just quit going to the gym. Well, it doesn't work. It works over a long period of time. The biggest reason that it doesn't work is that you're not tracking the single most important data point that will actually transform your trading. Here's what the course will do for you. And Jaime's going to talk a bit about his experience, and you're going to not have to hear from me here in a second, but I want to talk about what the course will do for you. You'll learn exactly what to track. You'll learn what data to ignore and what data to use, and that also changes depending on what metrics you're trying to, what dials and levers you're trying to move, that changes over time, but you'll know what to look at and what to ignore. And then you'll learn exactly how to use that data to make your trading profitable. So it's one thing to go, okay, I have all this journaling stuff. And a lot of times traders think about journaling their trades as like, I could eliminate this trade or eliminate that trade. No, I'm talking about really honing in and perfecting your approach to trading so that or do you tend to be early? Do you tend to be late? How big is your drawdown? How big should your drawdown really be? If you made these changes, what would it look like? So a bunch of different things that we can look at with that. And then you'll have a proven process that you can use to enhance your trading results for years to come. And I hinted towards this earlier, which is you could use this process and you could literally, over time, create dozens of strategies that are all automated that you've taken through this process and got them into that place. Let's talk about how Jaime went from struggling and losing money to making consistent money, trading one of the most volatile markets, and what you can learn from it. And Jaime's going to share some actual trades and trade ideas with us. And I asked you specifically to share about if you had trades from today or anything, how that process. But is there anything you want to say before that? I mean, because you went through this process and you can speak for yourself, but I think it's really what made the difference in going from years of struggling to being consistently profitable.
I think it was the top thing for me. Working with you, the top thing that made a difference for me. I'll talk about the trades I took today, kind of how they play into the methodology that I use to trade, and then I'll give a little look to the spreadsheet we'll be giving everybody to use for the tracking.
Yeah, great. And since you said that, I mean, one of the important things that we'll point out is that there is no journaling software that does what we want it to do. It's real fancy, but we're using an Excel sheet, but we know exactly what metrics, what we want to be tracking.
I'll go into a little bit more in the course, but the stat that we track is completely different for every single trader. So it's not something that can be just easily programmed into a journal software. So
yeah, you're telling me. That's great. Okay, well, I'll just mute here and I'll let you just kind of walk us through what you're looking at here.
Okay, yeah, this is today. There's the end of the market today. I took 3 trades today on the NQ, and I usually trade on the 1 minute, but I'm gonna move this over to a 15-second chart so that we can get a good look at the time in between the minute bar, because otherwise it looks like my trades all went off at the same time.
Jaime, I think the thing that's interesting is, from your own experience as a trader, and from being around here for long enough and talking with enough people, and you kicked off the first course that we ever did at Day Trade Like a Pro, and someone's going to think like, oh, he trades off a 1 minute chart. Like there's some sort of magic in that. Right?
Yeah, no, it's not really. I like the 1 minute chart because I can see the turns in it just fine. I think that came from part of the whole journey of my trading. And right before I came here to Day Trade Like a Pro, I was really heavily working in a market profile and looking at a market profile and a 1 minute chart and volume profiles of bars, independent bars, when I got a hold of prediction points and had that on top of what I was trying to use at the beginning. I think that was a turning point in that, outside of getting consistent. And so just having these prices and getting used to reading a 1 minute bar, it really helped a lot. You trade off a 5 minute chart. I trade off a 1 minute chart. A couple of guys here trade off 30-minute charts, and it doesn't really make a difference what time period you're looking at.
I've always just said it's about what the trader can see.
Exactly.
And you just said the same thing. You said that for you can just see things clearly on a 1 minute. I think I used a 5 minute because that's really what I learned on. And it was what I looked at the most. And I've spent by far the most time looking at a 5 minute chart. And so you're entering at a price, and that price is the same on a 1 minute chart. It's the same on a 5 minute chart. It's the same on an hour chart. It's the same on a daily chart. It's a lot harder to see on a daily chart than it is on a 1 minute chart if you're just trying to scalp something out of the NASDAQ.
Yeah, and I was just talking to a guy, one of the guys in our Discord today, about that, how he was like, I noticed you always trade on a 1 minute, and another guy, he's always posting stuff on a 5 minute. It doesn't look like you're really using trends and counter trend and reversal trades. And I was like, well, reversal trades and continuation trades are just dependent on the time frame you're looking at. So it doesn't really matter. It's more about the price we're at on the market.
Such a good point.
What I see as a continuation trend could just be a reversal in a different time period. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's great.
Today, this is the open right here, 8:30. And I was looking at this 50% line is the 50% between the two KPs. And everyone in the Discord knows I love the 50% line. and I use it to trade all the time. My thought going into the open was we might get a little test at the 50% and push up, and I would use that to get my points pretty easy. If I remember right, ES, I think, was kind of holding right on the 50% line also. And so I just kind of went with that and said, okay, well, ES is getting support here. I'll look for NQ to get support on the 50%, and then I'll go long. The first 15 seconds, we came down and hit the 50% and closed back up. I mean, obviously, I was looking at a 1 minute chart, so it just looked like we came down here, came back up, came down again. So I entered in thinking we've got support there and we're going to go long. And I got taken out pretty quickly in the next 15 seconds. And right after that, I said, okay, well, we're going down. So the next time we came up to the 50% and hit it, I got short and recovered the loss on the next trade. I usually go for 20 points on my trades, but right now the accounts that I'm trading are some Lilu accounts, and they're past the profit target. So I just needed to get trades in, and I didn't. I could have just went for one tick, but I do like to get points at the end of the day anyway, so I went for more. And then so I recovered the loss here. Really, the only reason I took another trade was because on this first trade, I did get into some profit, maybe, what is that, 61 to 66, so like 4 or 5 points. And so that raised my drawdown a bit. And when this one closed out, I still wasn't at the top of my drawdown. So I figured I'd just take one more trade to get back to the top of my drawdown with Lilu. And when we came back up and hit the 50% line again, I got short again, and we dropped within 10 seconds. And then I was at the top of my drawdown with the limit order on my profit, and I finished for the day. I think that was at $240 or something. Yeah, $240 for the day. Not much on the one account. I was doing 2 accounts, so I guess really it was $480 between the 2. But like I said, I only needed 1 tick profit just to count my trade for the day, and then I was done. And that was within 3.5 minutes of the market being open.
That's great.
Yeah,
you
and that's
did all
usually
that. You weren't
goes.
looking at a 15-second chart. You were looking at a 1 minute chart.
Yeah, I was looking at a 1 minute chart, so it looks a little different. For me, trading like that and reversing off the price within a minute and a couple of seconds is not a problem for me.
Right.
You know, for some people, they might not be able to react that fast or feel confident in taking that trade, so that might not be, something they can do.
But
for
that's
me,
also, it wasn't like you were born doing this. It's something that you've developed over time. Will you talk a little bit about, before I ask you this, I wanted to set it up as that your answers to the question that I'm going to ask you are very personal for you. And you got those answers by going through the process that we'll be taking people through in the course. So with that, it's not like, great, everybody should be doing that. But you have a stop loss that you're using. So you have a set stop loss. And so your stop loss is at 6 points?
Yes, it is. Well, I believe it's 5 right now, actually set to 5.
Okay, so 5 points. 60, and then your target is generally 20 points.
Generally 20, yeah.
Talk a little bit about where that came from.
That was from when you and I started working together, and I was trying to determine what would work for me as a trader, what I felt like at the end of the day, each day, how I would feel. Confidence, not the right word. Felt like I did a good day's work. Felt like I made enough points. I'm a successful trader. I could make a living doing that, making this many points a day. I was also trying to pass some Lilu accounts. So I was also trying to figure out how many points can I make to satisfy a Lilu account. And that kind of went into my decision process a little bit. And I was doing some research on NQ and what the natural movement of the market was and how much each kind of what most people call an impulse move is, how many points that would travel, and that kind of went into it a little bit also. So using those things, I started tracking trades, and we started looking at some metrics that I only know of that we look at here. After a couple of months, I had enough trades that we were able to get some good, solid numbers down that helped come to my original 6-point loss and 20-point target.
Yeah, and you've had many days where you're holding for more than 20 points.
Yeah. I just had one trade yesterday where it ended up at I trailed out at 50 points. So
yeah. So you'll hold and you'll, do you remember, I was thinking about early on when you were in the process of, you would have these trades and you'd have these targets. And do you remember it was like every time your target was like 50
Yeah,
or 80 or 120 points, it was like it went 40 points and then came back and you got stopped out?
yeah,
And it was
yeah.
I remember those times of looking at it going, okay, so basically if you're going for like 80 points, it's like it's a 0% chance that it's going to happen. It's like it
Exactly.
never
Yeah,
happened. Those
it
were
never
things that
happened.
were useful to know. But also, I remember, because of the way we were tracking stats, one of the things we're looking at is basically, are you wrong or are you early? And
Hmm.
you were early. You might remember better than I do, but you were right. Geez, I want to say like 80 something percent of the time you were right about the direction. You
Just
were
above
early like
80%.
65% of the time.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly what it was. You probably know better than I do, but like you were early almost always. You were right about the direction way more than not.
Yeah, the direction was correct 80% of the time. I was early, let's say 63, yeah, about 60% of the time I was early. In
Yeah.
other words, my stop loss was hit before the target.
Yeah. To give people an idea, you know that because of the way we track stats and the
Hmm.
specific
Hmm.
things that I don't want to make it sound like it was some brilliant idea that I had or something. It was just that as I was tracking my own trades, I was going, why is nobody tracking this? It just made no sense. And I started looking like these are things that you really want to know. And there was no journal that was tracking those kinds of things or even had a column to track those kinds of things. So I thought
Yeah.
that's just really crazy that this stuff wouldn't be just common, like normal things that every trader should be tracking. So I started
Yeah.
tracking it for me. Obviously, you went through that process. Others have gone through that. But up until now, I've only ever done this with clients that I coached one-on-one, which is when we did it. And then, this is the first time we're really teaching this methodology publicly. What I would say, this is just my opinion. I said this when I wrapped up the class that I was teaching, and I said it's my opinion and it's been my experience that you can literally take a trader who is consistently losing and you can have them track the right information. And if you have the right data to look at and you know what you're looking for and you can manipulate your trades around that, I believe you can pretty much turn any strategy into a profitable strategy. Now, whether or not let's say the Sharpe ratio is high enough or not is another story, but I do believe you can turn any strategy into a winning strategy with the right information and enough data over time. That's my opinion of it.
Yeah, I agree. I also think if it's not an automated strategy, that it's going to highly, highly correlate to the person and their ability to follow the rules.
And that's what I love about this process is it was really obvious going back to looking at your trades where it was like, okay, you're never going to get an 80-point target. I mean, back then,
Yeah,
I'm sure you've had
yeah,
plenty of
yeah, yeah,
those the time since then, but it was like you're never going to get that because literally anything over like 50 points was like a 0% chance of it getting hit.
yeah.
And so that was really telling. And
Yeah, a lot of
then,
those trades actually weren't even good trades. They were
mm,
trades that I was just taking because of being upset or not following my rules and following a specific setup.
and having I mean, you have a lot more tools in your tool belt now for like, forecasting movements and things like that. So having more reliable targets. I mean, you're a much better
Yeah,
trader today than you were when you first went through that process.
Jaime, you
Yeah.
said something I think is great when you talked about performance being very tightly correlated to someone following the rules. And the really interesting thing about the stats and how we track it and how we propose to track it is that traders can actually identify the cost of not following the rules. When you track the appropriate data points and you go back and you review your trades, if you didn't follow a rule, you can actually assign a specific value for the cost of not following your rule, and that can often lead to more incentive to follow your rules going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great.
Let me bring up the spreadsheet we're going to be using real quick. This is just some sample data that I threw on the spreadsheet to get it started so that someone, when we walk into the course, they're not blindsided too much as to what it should look like when they're using it. I left the entry and exit out because depending on how you trade or if it's important to you, you might be putting in extra information here just besides the price. But, the standard stuff, everyone trades, the stop loss, the target, if they have more than one, the profit on that trade, if the targets were hit, yes or no, the MAE and MFE. And if you don't know what those are, that's the max adverse expansion and the max, basically how
Favorable. It basically is
favorable.
how far against you and how far in your favor it went. That's all it's tracking.
Yeah. So those are for the most part, the raw data that most trading journals will get you. And then they'll do some math based off of those and get you averages and whatnot. And there's a couple of other things that we track that we call the potential that you can see here.
And this is really the secret sauce, I think, as far as like why it works so effectively.
Yeah, that's the raw data that's the most important, that will get you to the next level in your journaling and your strategy and how you execute your trades. And the potentials are going to be very, very different for each person. And when we get into the course and when we get into the course and kind of explain how this works, there should be really no two people that have the same numbers that come up with this, and you'll see why you just can't program that into a journal software. Now, what you could do to
there's a proper way to track. There's like, how you track that has to be consistent and has to have rules around it. And I mean, I remember that was one of the things we talked about a lot. You'd go, well, should this be the potential or should that be the potential? And so it's like, well, you can't ask me, you have to ask your rules. So we had to develop rules on how you're tracking what these are. If you don't have rules for how you track it, it's just going to be useless, basically.
And I actually went through a couple of different iterations of my own trading, just like that, because we kept talking about it till I finally settled in on a specific way to track it for me. For you guys, once we start doing this, that might be something that changes in the middle of the course for you, depending on how you trade. But this raw data is what allows us to go through 3 or 4 other specific calculations that can give us new targets, new stop losses, a new way of looking at your trading that will show us if you actually have an edge, if it's profitable over time, just because you're right 80% of the time. If your potential MAE is much higher, then more than likely, unless you're strictly following your rules, that's not going to be a winning strategy.
And I think the couple of points I want to make. So one of the big things that we've been advocates for at Day Trade Like a Pro is that the strategy has to fit the trader's personality. And I think what's so great about, well, Jaime, what you're doing, and you're really like the living, breathing example of it. And then at the same time, what this process will do for somebody is it will make it so that their strategy gets built around, it's something that's packaged up and given to them in a box. We can take whatever they're using. So some traders here might be using prediction points, some of them might not be. It really doesn't matter. So I guess that's the thing. One of the things we should talk about is that however you trade doesn't matter. You can trade for 1 or 2 ticks. You can be swing trading where you're holding for weeks or months. It doesn't matter. And anything in between there is fine. What really we're going to show you is how to use this information to find out a couple of important things. Are you getting the direction right? Number one. And if you're not, then you have like a flawed premise that you're operating on. So we have to deal with that. And then number 2 is that, are you early? And you heard one of the things that Jaime said is he was right 80% of the time, but he was early like 63% of the time. So how does knowing that help your trading? Well, you basically know that 37% of the time you'll be right. The rest of the time, I mean, when you are right, and the rest of the time you're going to be way early. it was always like, I mean, I remember we would just say, like, one of the conversations that we had was, okay, so when you see the trade, just wait.
Yeah.
And like, don't do it right then. Like, just wait a little bit longer. If 63% of the time you're early, it's going to be worth waiting. Just wait and let it play out. And that's true for a lot of traders. And there's other approaches you can get to with that. I mean, you can look at the emotional reasons behind that as well. I'm historically early. Actually, I think every good trader that I know is generally early to the trade. It's a big thing amongst traders. I was talking to Denise Scholl, and she said that all of her traders who are, really great traders, big hedge fund guys, they all say the same thing. I'm almost always early.
That's interesting.
I think it's because they're seeing something before other people are seeing it, but that's fine. But then you want to know I'm early and then wait. And if you know that you're early, now look, if you're just wrong, like if you're wrong 80% of the time, then that's easy. You should just do the opposite of whatever you were doing. Like if your signal is to buy and 80% of the time you're wrong, that's simple. You should just sell. And I'm really being serious. Like that might sound like a joke, but I'm actually being serious about it. That's how you can use that kind of information. I don't care what your signal is. Your signal says buy, and the actual real data says that 80% of the time that's wrong. Then you should go with what the data says. So when you get a buy signal, I don't reframe it in your mind that it's now a sell signal. And then we can look at how early are you, and then adjusting. And there's also this point where you go from being, that cutoff, where you go from being early to being wrong. And you know what that cutoff is, and you can build your strategy around that. So there's a lot of work to do. It's actually fairly simple as far as from the trader's standpoint. We'll be doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the classes together and going over results together. Jaime, anything else that you want to say about it, or David, any questions that we have?
I just want to point out that this will get you to a new point to get your trading to the next level. But there is a caveat that I would say that if it turns out that you're using a strategy that you think should be profitable, or that you just know works for you, but it turns out that it's just like you not following your rules or something along those lines that's making it not work, that would be something that we would have to go through on some one-on-one coaching to fix that. That's not going to get fixed through this course.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's be real. I mean, I'm a product of coaching. You're a product of coaching. I still currently am a client of the Rethink group, which is Denise Scholl, and I have a coaching call with my coach tomorrow. So I'm a believer in coaching, and I'm a practicer of coaching, if you will. I mean, I don't just believe in it, I actually live it. So I'm a big advocate for coaching. So if it isn't here, we have some really phenomenal coaches at Day Trade Like a Pro. If you have things like that going on, yeah, we have some really great coaches here. But if you don't want one of the coaches here, you want to coach some, just get a coach. I mean, that's one of the big things I'd tell you as well. So you have an opportunity to have the two of us coach you for 4 weeks, and we kind of know what we're doing. We have a pretty good experience here in helping people go through this process. I'm extremely confident in the result that we can produce by the end of the 4 weeks that we'll have together.
Absolutely.
Let's look at the syllabus here. The classes will be starting September 15th, the 22nd, the 29th, and October 6th. They're all at 1:30 Pacific time, 4:30 Eastern time. It says they're an hour. If you've been in a class with me, they might be an hour, but they'll all be recorded. And we'll certainly, look, our goal is to get it done in 60 minutes, but if we're right in the trenches of looking at something and it's important that we take another 15 minutes and do it, we're going to do that. And if you don't have that time, then that's okay. You can jump off and you can come back and catch up on the recording, okay? Our commitment is not to keeping it inside of 60 minutes. Our commitment is that you get what there is to get out of that session. And if we can do that in 60 minutes, great. And if it takes us 75 minutes, then great. It really doesn't matter. We're committed that you get what there is out of the session.
So. I think we should let's just make this 90 minutes. Let's just have everyone budget 90 minutes.
Yeah, David knows me better.
I know from history. So we're going to update this and make sure that it's everyone knows it's 90 minutes, because I want to make sure that everyone, when they come, they have the right time allocated. We don't feel like we have to rush at the end, and that would be inside of our commitment.
We'd rather wrap up early and give you time to go do some looking through and studying of your own trades and things like that. So great idea. So congratulations. You somehow just got another 2 hours of coaching out of us during all of this time. You can see here in the syllabus, it's really all the things that we've gone over here in the webinar already. Here's the bottom line. At the end of the time together, you're going to have a process to track all your trade data and then be able to look at that data and know exactly what to look for and what to ignore. And then how do you take that data and then implement it into your trading and make changes in your trading? Well, you're seeing the syllabus, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I just didn't want to read the whole syllabus. If someone wants to take a picture of that and go back and read it, you should have a pretty good, if we're at this point in the webinar and you don't know what we're going to be covering in the course, then we have not done our job. It also pointing out, I just want to make sure that was clear, you're going to get what Jaime just showed you. It's really simple. There's a couple of edits that we'll make, a couple of things will change to that Excel sheet. But it's really, there's no magic really there. The magic is how we interpret it. And that's what Jaime and I are going to be doing with you and what we're going to be teaching you. And so we'll give you that Excel sheet. You can track it in that, and then we'll teach you how to look at the data. Okay. The course is led by myself and Jaime. It's going to be 4 90-minute sessions. And they'll be, I think we'll hold them on GoToMeeting, so they'll be interactive. So you'll be able to come off mute and talk. They'll have to be that way. You'll need to come and talk with us and show us your data, and we'll be looking at that with you. And then you're also going to get a 60-minute one-on-one coaching call. And some of you are going to get the opportunity, well, all of you will get the opportunity for 2 of those, but everyone will get that. So a 60-minute one-on-one coaching call. That's worth the price of the course by itself. And then 20 days of accountability. We're going to give you the templates of how to track and journal your trades. You'll be able to make any changes to that you want, add things that you want to add, that kind of stuff. And then we'll have a dedicated Discord channel, so you'll be able to ask questions. I'll be answering those. Jaime will be answering those. David will answer those. You'll be able to work with each other on that as well. So you have the support and accountability from the whole group. And there's the link you can sign up. It's offers.daytradelikeapro.com/consistency. And I think the price of the course, David, is at $997. Is that?
That's correct. $997.
Yeah, so $997. That's a bargain, by the way. I mean, you're getting 90 minutes for 4 weeks with myself and Jaime, and then you're getting an hour of coaching. And we think we've done some other things that are going to also be valuable for you. So we really want you to do this. Only works if you actually follow what we're going to teach you. And so we want to provide some incentive for you to do that. So we have this accountability system. So there's 20 trading days. There's 40 points available over those 20 days. This is how this works. You get a point. David, help me with this if I'm.
Yeah. There's going to be
go ahead.
2 points available per day. One is going to be for actually trading the actual trades and statistics, and then there's another journal that talks a little bit more about your emotions and a couple other things. And you will get 1 point for completing each of those each day. And we'll have a tracker to keep everyone's score and everything else. And so once we get through the 20 trading days, everyone who passes these certain levels are going to win some free tools from us. So essentially, you can even earn your entry fee into the course back through just being accountable and sticking with the system and do what we're actually teaching you.
Yeah, we're literally just saying, and I think the realistic, like maybe you're talking about 15 minutes a day, something like that. It's really dependent on how much you trade. Like Jaime, on a day like today, I mean, you're taking what was it, 3
Yeah.
trades? I mean, it takes like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. It used to be I had days where I took like 30 trades, and yeah, that was a mess.
That takes a minute more. But if it's taking you more than 15 or 20 minutes to track your trades, we really got to look at what
much.
you're doing. Yeah, you have to be over trading. I mean, you have to be.
I would plan 30 minutes a day to track your trades and complete your journal and do your review, maybe 45, but
yeah, you can literally do it while you're in the trade.
Exactly.
For the most part, I mean, it's like, it doesn't have to be like you have to come back and do it later. You can pretty much do it right then while you're in the trade if you want. So
and look, we know this process works, so we're really trying to set this up as much as possible for everyone to engage in the process, because we know it works, and you have to do it consistently over a period of time to get the benefits. So we're really just trying to structure everything around this to support that.
yeah, it's like if you came to us and you said, I want to lose 15 pounds over the next 30 days. And if we said, well, we know that we can help you do that if you follow these steps. And by the way, almost everybody who would fit into a category like that knows what to do. I mean, there's an abundance of information that might be part of the problem, but it's like they don't actually do it. The difference with trading is they don't really know what to do. So we're going to teach you what to do. And again, you notice how little we care about your strategy, because it doesn't really matter. I don't care if you use a MACD to enter your trades, or if you're using prediction points, or if you use any of the other tools in the Pro suite, or you've never bought anything from Day Trade Like a Pro and you're purely price action, or you're a fib trader, or what. I don't care. All we're looking at is what your trade data tells us. And then we're going to mold your trading around your actual trades. I mean, it's a really, just imagine that concept, taking your actual trade data and then adjusting your trading around it, and knowing what to look for, and knowing which levers to pull, which dials to turn. So if you score 30 points, we're going to give you a month of prediction points for free. That's a $297 value. And then if you score 35 points, you'll get an additional 60-minute coaching call. And if you just do what we're asking you to do for 20 days, you'll score 40 points. And we will give you a 1-year license to any DTLAP indicator. So any of our indicators in the Pro Suite, will give it to you for a year. They're $1,500. There's people on this webinar who've paid that for it. And we'll give it to you for a year. And you can win all of those. The course is $997, and you can just right here in bonuses, we're giving you like $2,300 of value in bonuses. That's not including the course. So we think it's a really great value. We think it's just, you're stealing it basically. It's fantastic. So offers.daytradelikeapro.com/consistency. I just want 2 things. I know that your time and that your attention are valuable, and I appreciate you being here. Go track your trades. And if at all possible for you, be in the course. Go get registered. Don't wait. Don't put it off. The course starts next week. So go get yourself registered, get in the course. It starts when you get registered. You're going to start tracking things. You're going to start journaling things. You can really get a leg up and have a great opportunity to come into the course and really be ready to go. And the other thing that I'd say to you is that if you've noticed, I have said many times, go register for the course, because I know that what's going to make the difference is if Jaime and I can spend 4 weeks with you and 2 different coaching sessions with you, and go through and give you all the information and all the knowledge and experience that we have, and help you mold your own trading around that. That's by far the way that you get the most value out of the time that you've spent here today, versus leaving and trying to go figure it out on your own, which you may or may not do, but will save you months of headache and trouble. And it's absolutely worth the investment in you to be in the course if you're serious about your trading. With that, David, Jaime, anything either of you want to say? Any questions you want to answer before we wrap up?
Nothing from me. Just, we are trying to make this so that you can get your trading to the next level. And this is the best way we know how to do that, no matter how you trade.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the only other thing that I'll add to what I already said is that we really would love, I know I can speak for Jaime when I say this, we would love the opportunity to work side by side with you for 4 weeks and help you develop and get this process in your hands, because we think this is the thing that will make the difference of taking you to the next level as a trader. So we would love that opportunity, and we take it seriously. We know that if you're doing that, there's a level of trust that you're extending to us, and that isn't lost on us. David, you want to wrap us up and send us home?
No, I think that's it. Thanks everyone for joining. Ephraim, Jaime, thank you very much for being sharing your time today and walking us through the process. We look forward to seeing everyone in the course. And we'll send out an email with a link on how to sign up. The link has just been posted in the questions area. So if you're ready to go, just click on that link, sign up, and we'll get you all set up in the Discord channel, and we can start getting you the templates and everything else. So thanks everyone for joining, and see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.